welcome everyone to this week's, the second, unos, dos, the second Tim Talks of this new year, as we've all been waiting for 2021 to come, and it is finally here. I wish, as I got out, in the past 6 years on the digital side and got from behind the desk, there are several people that I wish I would have had conversations with. We talked to Jonathan Dawson last week, and that's one of them. Another one, I had the privilege to do several conferences with this particular individual, and I literally was on the edge of my seat. I love to take notes because I'm too ADD to remember a lot, and I was taking notes, copious notes, I might add, under all of her breakouts and her keynote. And that person is Jennifer Suzuki. So Jennifer Suzuki, and we've got a big announcement a little bit later, something cool that you're doing for 2021. But Jennifer Suzuki literally goes all over the country and trains, is one of the best in dealer process, and what, and doesn't throw any snowballs, tells dealers the hard information, but also, the good thing, to get on Tim Talks, and not that we're this prestige, we've had a great following and a good run. It's not like, hey, I want to be on, but to be on here, we want to vet and we want to make sure that dealers are saying great things about our guests. And there has never been uttered a bad word about Jennifer Suzuki and the impact that she has made on dealers across this nation. So with that, Jennifer Suzuki, welcome so much to Tim Talks, and I can't wait to take more notes so I don't forget. And hopefully, as we always say on Tim Talks, no one's smarter than everyone. So let's just continue to get better together. Jennifer, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. We were together with my friend. It was a great show.
Yeah.
I guess it's been a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago now, with myself and you and several other vendors, and David Kane and Corey Mosley, and just, I think that was that the first time we met? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I feel like everything is always a big blur, but
big blur.
Man, we had fun on that little road show.
Yeah, we road shows are good. And one of these days, when the evil of COVID is over and everyone, the fear is over, thank God, we will be on the road like that again. But you did something special. And now, first of all, I want to let you guys know that Jennifer is starting a podcast herself, and there are several people that I pour in. I have a routine daily. Get up, I have to have my quiet time in the still of the night or in the morning when before the sun comes up. I have to have my quiet time and have to feed my brain. It's so important, and it's so important to feed yourself constantly, with not just one idea or two ideas, but people that see things differently. And we're so excited to hopefully have our listeners at Tim Talks. Please tune in to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. One of the things that we talk about on Tim Talks is, obviously I'm one of the founders at Car Now, and I think sometimes people, they think, and maybe they haven't listened. If you listen to the show at all, you know that we very seldom even talk about Car Now. It's about truly, this started during the beginning of COVID, where we said, what, I don't care about anything else. We need to serve our dealers and just help them, number one, at the time in March, stay open. But number two, the luxury that you have that I'm a little bit jealous about, Jennifer, is that's not the case with you. So you are totally agnostic as far as, maybe not selling anything, as we are obviously not selling anything, but listen, I'm going to be tuning in, but you guys that tune in on a weekly basis to Tim Talks, make sure that you tune in to Dealer Talk with Jennifer Suzuki. So Jennifer, how do they, first of all, before we unpack all this, how do they do that, and when is that going to be?
Okay, so we're about to launch episode 5 next week. So you can find it on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify right now, big ones. So it's Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, and it's a service and sales educational podcast for dealers, managers, sales teams, auto hustlers, if you will.
Yeah, auto hustlers. I love it. I love it. So you did some.
Bosses.
Do what?
Hashtag bosses.
So let's just dive right in, okay? We're going to give you an example or a taste of what Jen's going to be bringing you on a consistent basis. You know, Jennifer did something in the middle of, or in the beginning of COVID, during this big DR craze that has swept the automotive space, and she actually went out. She went and talked to dealers. She talked to customers. So with that, you know, we want to talk about the process and how, you know, that relates to both customers and, quite frankly, the process on how that relates to the people inside of the dealership. Could you add some color of your firsthand, you know, your agnostic view? No, we're not selling any DR, but what you saw when you went out, and, as we say, when you went out into the wild.
Well, first, let me just give you a little background on that too. I've had my company for 19 years. We're an educational company. We work with dealers and their sales teams on enhancing the processes and delivering great customer experiences. The foundation of this company has always been, how do we make this easy for customers to buy vehicles from dealerships? That was the core foundation of building this company. And it really started with, internet sales. It evolved into more phone processes. And now at this point, you know, I would say it's digital selling skills. It encompasses a lot. So, you know, having a company for 19 years, you get rocked by COVID and it's like everything's come to a screeching halt. I've been on a plane literally every week, it feels like, in my career, seeing dealers, doing live workshops, working at the NADA Academy, teaching classes there. And I'm worried. I'm like, geez, you know, well, first of all, I'm pumped because I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, everything just came to like a fast forward button, where everyone's trying to hustle and sell cars, and managers are in, they are working internet leads, and I'm pumped because I'm like, oh my God, now they're finally in the trenches working the digital opportunities that we've been waiting for. Now they're going to be able to look for, you know, the efficiencies, because we couldn't have people in the showroom for a good significant amount of time. So digital became on the forefront. And so of course I'm super pumped because I'm like, oh, waiting for this. Everyone to be excited about this. Focus on the guest experience, focusing on saving people time. This has been the core of our company. And then I got scared because then I was like, oh, am I going to be able to ever go on a plane again? You know, like, am I going to see dealers? Like, wait, what's happening to the landscape? So May 1st, after I've been pent up at home, you know, doing Zoom calls and doing what you said, you know, helping our clients stay connected to what's happening and helping them contact customers, you know, sales calls became care calls. And it just, a lot was happening. So first week of May, I got on a plane and I started going out to see what many of the DR companies were telling me were their best dealers. And these are a variety of companies. I flew for weeks. I went into these best stores and, you know, basically worked the digital retailing opportunities with the sales teams, with the managers. I wanted to work their processes. And I learned a lot about the fact that there's no one business model that's going to like work for everybody. Everybody has to find a tool that's really meets their specific company goals. And then they work the processes around that. But getting people to be part of, you know, this evolution of change and to use new tools and to keep their finger on the pulse, be willing to pivot and adapt at a drop of a dime, and have these open discussions amongst sales teams and BDC and managers on how do we change? Customer didn't like that. Customer liked that. You know, what are we going to keep? What are we going to change? And doing this literally like every day really got us to a point as of present where we've, in many of these stores that went hard on this, have really created a far more efficient business model than I've ever seen before. And everyone's doing it in different ways. So I know that was a lot.
Wow.
I just saw so many different ways to do this. But one thing that was a parallel is that everyone was willing to change. Even people that have been in the business for a long time, they like to do things certain ways. They like their own software. And now it's like, hey, maybe we should try this, you know, to do better. Was definitely something everyone had in common.
You know, we say it all the time. It's all about, calculators don't sell cars.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. I don't care if it's my calculator, another company's calculator, conversations sell
Yes.
cars. And you brought up several good points that our Tim Talk listeners have heard time and time and time again. You know, you cannot, and whatever DR company you're using, and there's some good ones out there.
Yeah.
You cannot just put it on your website, and I know people are sick of hearing me say this, and
Set it, forget it.
and just set it and forget it, like the field of dreams, and it's going to come. And it's also very idiotic for any company, quite frankly, to think that their system is going to work in New York City just like it's going to work in rural Oklahoma. You know, it's different. So tell me some of the processes. I want to dive a little deeper. You know, we've kind of scratched the surface a little bit, and we've talked about, and we've, you know, you and I were talking before we started airing about experience, and it's more than just experience. But tell me some of the experiences. I mean, look, in order to get better as a company, you know, we have to find out where our warts are, and we have to find out, you know, we might think we're doing a great job, but you talking to customers, I mean, can you unpack that a little bit and tell us what your actual experience when you were talking to customers inside dealerships that went through the DR process, and then you were calling on customers that were going through the, can you expand on that a little bit? That's what I really want to unpack. That's how we grow together.
Okay. So a lot of the companies have these back-end tools, and of course they're, you know, they've got a CRM, everyone's got a CRM. But I think in a lot of ways, the CRM companies weren't equipped for how we were, you know, how we were going to start dumping these opportunities from the retailing solutions into the CRM and parsing the information. So I liked using the DR company's backend tools. I found that it was like easier to navigate. It was easier to see the breadcrumbs, the trail that the customer was leaving behind. This was something that I had never had before in selling cars, is that I had a customer story now, a customer story that maybe could have taken us like a year to figure out, was now in this back end, you know, system where I could see the customer entered the site, they departed, they came back, they looked at this unit, they changed this unit, they changed this package, they changed this color, they changed their payment, they changed their money down, they changed their credit score. You know, I mean, all of these things are commitment approaches, you know, to a car deal. And now you're able to see all of these things and just sort of formulate your game plan. So then now there's all of these moments that we have to take into consideration before we contact the customer back. So at first, I really thought this was just another internet lead. I mean, they were dumping into the BDC, the internet department. It looked like the same. It was in the CRM the same way. And I'm just, you know, get in the door, let's do this. And quickly realized that, you know, I really was going to do better if I looked at the story and then aligned the customer, you know, experience, what they've been doing online, and letting them know, hey, I see you and I want to help you, and not necessarily putting on pressure. I became no pressure vibes. Jennifer is high pressure vibes in the past. Like, that is a big change that I made. I want the appointment. Let's do this.
Right.
And now it's like engagement. I want to kick it with people. I want to be nice to people. I want to slow it down, not necessarily expecting the sale is going to happen today, knowing that people are doing their homework and their research, and they're in a sensitive state, and they don't want to be pressured, and they're afraid of COVID, and they're still very afraid to come into the showroom. And we have to acknowledge these things all at hello. Very difficult to do. So some of the things that I started executing was, one, look at the story, identify the drop-off point. Was it at the credit app? Was it at the vehicle selection? Did they choose a couple different colors? Find the story and pick up where they left off. So I'm assessing the story, and I have to know my value, and I have to know my worth, and I have to make people feel good about me, and feeling good about either planning a meetup remotely or planning a meetup at the store, and what I'm going to do to make this easy and efficient and safe for them. So I have a core fundamental really for me, it's always been, and it's step 2 of my call, which step 1 is introduction. Step 2 is set expectations of what our relationship can be and what we're doing as a business, as a company, right? As a team, as a person, to really reduce the time of transaction and how we do that. And when it came to pricing, I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to be crystal freaking clear. So I really started engaging consumers immediately with texting them the car deal. This changed all of the fate and the game. So a lot that I've just thrown out there. So 1, read the story. read the story and let that customer know you know the story, not like a stalker, but like, like a helper, like I'm a helping hand. I'm not a creeper. I'm a helping hand. I'm not trying to push you to come into the store today. Simmer down and create the space to showcase my identity. And I say things like, so before I called you, I took a look. At your file, Tim, and I saw a lot of the research that you were doing on our site. It looks like you're using some of our digital tools, and I'm a helping hand. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you get the information that you need. And I also didn't see you in as one of our current customers, so I just wanted to give you a warm welcome. I'm one of the dealership teammates here, and I'm going to be serving you, and I'm going to be making this super easy. In fact, I thought I would text you the deal right now so we could just make sure we're on the same vehicle. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just wrapping up everything that I gave you into an actual process at hello so I can move this forward. My job is to move this forward in a way that showcases, here, Tess, I'm the one.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's spot on. And people are, it's funny that we have so many great minds, not mine, but everybody else on TIMTALKS and on this show, and they say it differently, but they say the same thing. I was talking to a dealer in the Northeast, and this is our, we're on our fourth, getting ready to, we're on our fifth update as we continually get better, as we add other things, as we learn from customer behavior in our own tool. But when you make it simple, people are reciprocal.
Totally.
I can greet you. I can say, hey, Jen, what's up? Or I can say, oh my gosh, Jen, I have not seen you. I said the same thing. The response from you is different. We need to be, almost psychologists with understanding it. And when we understand that way, that dealer in New Jersey, which told me, look, and this was 3 years ago when we first launched 3 years ago, he said, Tim, it's real simple. I have one person on my BDC that focuses on trade-ins. And if they put a trade-in on your tool, I have to have that trade. Right. And what happens was it was a guy that's never sold cars before, and he started selling cars. Why? Because you understand, I think we try to make it so difficult, and we have to read this script, and we have to, oh my gosh, well, it says here, I have to do this. It's real simple. Hey, listen, I noticed that you have this 2018 BMW 3 Series. My pre-owned manager walked by. I have to have that car. Is there a time that you can come in? Ladies and gentlemen, it's that simple. The kid, and I can't remember, and I'm not going to make it up. He sold, I think it was 12 or 13, whatever it was. It was a bunch of, like in a couple weeks, just because he was honing in on what was important to them. We've got another dealer, Jason Scott, who's works for Hendrick. He's one of the rock star general managers for Hendrick. He said, Tim, I tripled my closing rate. And I'm like, well, how the heck, Jason, did you triple your closing rate in a Toyota store in Charleston? And he said, Tim, I looked at my conversations, and when I talked to people like they were my girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, mother, people that I knew, instead of just what's your name, what's your number, hey, yeah, this is the car. When there was an emoji, when there was a OMG, when there was it went from 7.5% total leads into the store to almost 22%. So we're understanding very clearly that this is how people were responding. What was some of the pushback? I mean, you're in a lot of dealers. What is because I know, we still deal with it on a daily basis. Dealers are different. As we approach now 5,000 dealers, there's a lot of different personalities. So, I mean, the pushback, tell me a little bit about the pushback that you received or maybe that you felt from dealer personnel, maybe it's a sales manager when you were going in and out of these stores. Can we park there just a little bit?
I think that I was in the stores that really understood it and embraced it, and we're all on board. Now, I can tell you, even our own clients that I would have pre-COVID called progressive, the ones that were always willing to try the latest and greatest software and tools and this and that, many people put it to the sidelines. And in fact, I think in a lot of stores, it's still sitting there and it's not really being utilized. when I say text a car deal, that is seeking engagement, not necessarily an appointment. And I think those are the things that people actually are pushing back on right now. It's like when I say you got to have the capabilities to text the people the car deal, put it up front, get them in the system, help them move forward, be transparent. If you say you're simple and easy, prove it to me, because you know what the people want. But yet, everybody's always fearful of loss of control, fear of losing money, car deals. But to me, the metrics have changed. And this is where I think that, when you get pushback on using digital tools, putting the car deal in front of people with numbers, just everything transparent, sharing with people how you price your vehicles, showing them where that vehicle stands in the marketplace. You don't have to be the highest, you don't have to be the lowest. You have to explain to people how you got there. I think that and again, this is my step 2, it's always setting expectations. A parallel that I saw a lot of the good DR dealers doing, whether it was showroom process using the digital tools or it was a remote digital sales process, always setting expectations with a buyer of like how we are going to be timely and efficient and what our numbers look like. The pushback is giving the customer the number at hello. I mean, like, we've been struggling with this for a long time. I say give it to them, but make sure that you know your value and you make it a point to showcase your identity and your brand meaning, at hello. So the pushback is a lot of it is creating a showroom process around the digital tools. They get the tools, they set it, they think the buyers are supposed to check out. To me, it's already old school mentality. But the mission is to create a more timely transaction for the customer. So now my metrics change. I'm trying to see how long it takes us to put a deal, out. As soon as that customer comes in, did we do what we could do ahead of the time? Instead of pushing for the appointment, let me text them the car deal, get them into the system so we can start working out some of the key factors. So when the customer comes in, it's test drive, boom, we've already agreed on the numbers, let's go, delivery. It's the pushback is changing some of the processes that annoy customers. They hate waiting for finance. So what if it's Saturday, you got 4 people, they're all tied up, what can you do instead of having the customer sit there? Are there other things that they can do digitally to help move things along? Can we do the actual vehicle delivery before, paperwork? I mean, it's about timely transactions.
It's funny. There's I know you have youngins, and my youngins are not so young anymore, but because I'm an old man. But I dare, and I'm going someplace here. I dare you, car dealer, general manager, general sales manager, the fear. What you don't know is the average DR across, not even our numbers, but on Brian Pash's AAAS event, I listened to several people say the same statistic, where they're averaging, over $300 higher per vehicle retail on these deals. So back to the kids, there's a Disney movie called Frozen that let it go, let it go, let it go. I mean, just let it go. Let your fear go. I ended up showing 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, as we were in the infantile stage of DR, and I have more, there's not a lot of people in the car business than I have respect for my old boss, Mr. Hennessy. And he's like, the first thing he said was, well, now you're going to take the only profitable, thing in my dealership is the F&I piece. But now, of course, that was 3.5 years ago. They think differently now, but that's the thought process. And now, we're averaging, 24.2 through our tool when you do a source report, higher PVR on deals that have come through this. We've got to not set it and forget it. You're exactly right. It's about the process. It's about setting expectations with the customer. What do we do old school? 25 years ago, what did I do? Hey, listen, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for buying your new Toyota Camry. As a matter of fact, this is my finance manager, Brian. I'm just going to fill out. He's going to take a few minutes. We're going to print up your paperwork, and you should be in and out of here within probably 30 or 40 minutes. Can I get you something to drink? I just set expectations. That's sales 101 from 25 years ago. Now we have the digital tools to do the same thing. And the same thing is, if we do these steps, guys, it's not going away. Are salespeople, are these digital retailing products going to take away salespeople? No. People still want to go into the dealership. They want the process. What's going to happen is it saves salespeople time, because now I don't have to wait in 80, 90 degree weather in Atlanta to get that credit app and all that. I've already looked at the trade. I've already looked at the car. I've already printed out. I know what the customer's credit is. So therefore, we already take a lot of that work. People don't hate buying cars. They hate the back and forth. Exactly. They hate the junk. And if we can take it, and that's the great, beautiful thing that it sounds like you saw in some of these catalyst dealers across the country when you made these observations. Land the plane on DR. And before we go, I want you to talk about, because I think in 2021, I think dealer retention, I know we have a market, we have a business in our automotive space. And by the way, I don't know that you guys know this, but Jennifer also, she's kind of a big deal. And she also went to Northwood University. So she has been in and around, and obviously one of the few that has a degree in this stuff. So please take what she is saying to heart, because she has lived this her entire life. So if we land the plane on DR, something near and dear is this dealership's offering this dealership's the transient nature of our business. Let's talk about very quickly before we close. Give us some tips moving into 2021 as sales managers try to retain and incentivize their sales staff.
Everything that I just threw at you, I make it sound so easy, but if you pick every single thing apart and take it one step at a time, there's a lot in each one of these moments that I'm sharing with you. I mean, it's very easy for you and I to talk to a customer and to talk about what we can do to make their lives easier. However, it's not a topic of conversation in most dealerships. Now, showroom sales process all day, every day. We have a lot of legacy managers still sitting at the desk and loading people's lips, and that's training and coaching. And that's not even focusing on a digital sales process. When I ask GMs and their managers, to tell me where does their traffic come from? Showroom percentage, internet, digital retailing, incoming sales calls, prospecting. The majority of them are going to say it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, and a lot of chats to get the people to come into the store. That's the digital selling skills that people need. Our sales teams need these. And one thing that can make a huge impact and affect employee retention, which we struggle with hard on. I love digital retailing tools, but the salespeople have to use the tools. They need to know how to use the tools. That comes from training and coaching, and that comes from managers actually doing the work. When I say managers, first thing, the fastest way to get things done, to make progress here, is to get in the trenches and to work these opportunities yourself. Understand what we're dealing with every day. A lot of times, they put it in a BDC's lap and they're like, oh, that's your job. And I'm like, yo, you're putting all your business, all your paycheck in the hands of these of a team designed to just bring people in the door. Their job has changed. Their mission has changed. It's about engagement. And you only know these things if you do the work yourself. And once the managers, and they already have these skills, they have the selling skills that led them to the desk. It's just that we're not necessarily getting out there and calling customers with BDC, calling customers with sales teams, emailing, texting, chatting, all of these methods of communication that makes up our digital sales process that actually puts car deals together. That's what we have to train and coach on. Going into 2021, I would encourage managers to get in there, do the work. You'll see what you'll be asking yourself, like, oh my God, why do we do it this way? Oh, this doesn't make sense. You know what? The customer needs more information. You know what? Maybe we should text them the car deal. Maybe we should be looking at engagement and incentives this year based on how many deals you sent out and how many were opened and how many engaged you and how many are still engaging you 2 weeks later. And we should be looking at, a time that it takes to deliver a car deal, time it, customers in the showroom, how long does it take for them to get out of here? What was the holdup? Start correcting some of the pain points, and using the digital tools to help yourself do that. To me, these are if we focus on these things, this is what's going to secure our future. There are a lot of disruptors out there waiting to disrupt this business model. Okay. And there's a lot of customers that are still very unhappy with the way they're treated. I spoke to a car buyer this morning who told me they took 2 days for the dealership to respond back to them, that his car was in the service department. And he wanted to get a trade offer on his car in their service department that was 40 feet from each other. Used car manager and the service department couldn't get it done. I mean, we are going back in the hands of time. It's just simply not going to work. And if we can't please people and do things in a timely way, a disruptor will come in and rock this thing, and we don't need any of that. We want to satisfy people.
I look at Best Buy too. I mean, Amazon is basically, I don't want to say destroyed. I mean, Amazon's taken a lot of market share from brick and mortars, let's be honest. But yet Best Buy is not perfect, but Best Buy, at least for us, even with our company buying all the equipment that we need for our people and so on and so forth. I mean, they provide amazing customer service, and it's the way they present and the ease of doing business. Best Buy's not been touched at all. I mean, I'm sure obviously some, but that model is there, and moving strong in lieu of Amazon. Jennifer, give us some closing remarks, and then I'm going to tell everybody one more time how to get a hold of you, whether it's at your dealers, if they want you to train their management or sales staff, or obviously we're going to talk about the podcast too. So land the plane for us. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, be open to change. That's the name of the game. And you got to try everything. Try everything. Right. Even if you don't think it's going to work, just try. Know that it doesn't work. Give things a shot. This is a time of evolution, of opportunity. When people say, "Oh, I'm so glad 2020 is gone," I'm like, "What are you talking about? That was like literally one of the best years in the automotive industry. It propelled growth and change, and is making things better. But you have to create a culture around these components I'm sharing with you."
Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much, Jennifer. If you want to get a hold of Jennifer Suzuki, as we said before, please reach out. Her company is E-Dealer Solutions, Automotive Sales Training. I have sat in personally on some of these when we had the privilege to be on the road together. I have heard the wonderful accolades from dealers. So if you want to talk to her, please reach out. Can they just email you there, or is there contact information at eDealer Solution, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's Jennifer at eDealerSolution.com. Of course, I'm on IG and FB and Twitter and all that. I'm hoping, I've been delivering classes for 19 years, and I do it in a lot of different ways. But I'm really hoping that Dealer Talk with Jen, which is a podcast that I released this year, I guess it was last year. Oh my God, that it's going to help our industry propel. And I'm talking a lot of, in a very raw and informative way. I'm talking about ways to keep dealerships relevant, and I'm looking at how we can continue to increase our service business and our sales business. And all of these classes are free because of sponsorship. And I hope that everybody will go out there and, school up, self-educate, share it with some.
Awesome. As we always say, no one is smarter than everyone. And that is definitely true as we continue to need different angles, different ideas as we continue to get better together. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for yet another Tim Talk. Thank you again, Jennifer Suzuki, for your time and investment in us. And guys, please check Jen out on her podcast, on Apple Podcasts and others. And no one would be better to train your sales team than her. So thank you guys so much. We will see you next week at Tim Talks. Have a great week.
Thank you so much, Tim.